What up, heavy mommies, and welcome to the Cosmic Perspective. On today's episode, it's actually really just an IG Live that I recorded several days ago, as of the time of this recording. And I thought it was a really good conversation that I really wanted to save and share and post until IG crushed my dreams and decided the save video button that wants to give me the illusion of the animation that it saved my video decided to not work, and I didn't realize that until after I hit post to my story, which anybody who's ever done an IG Live knows means you can never save this video ever again. You now lose the video, and if you didn't save it before, you failed. And that's literally what it told me, basically, because I hit save, it loaded as if it saved, and then it said, fuck you, Kevin. We know you just wanted to release another episode, but fuck you. You get none of the video. So, now I only have the fucking audio of this shit. And it was like a solid, like, I don't know, I didn't like light it or anything, you know, it didn't look as fancy as my normal episodes, but I set it up and I shot it and I thought I would have video to then promote this. So I'm going to post this episode, but in all likelihood, like, I don't know. I don't, maybe people will surprise me, but I feel like nobody's going to listen to clips that I make if I don't have people talking on screen. I could be wrong. Maybe people genuinely listen to snippets of podcasts that doesn't have the video, but to me, I'm either going to listen to the audio only through the podcast app, or I'm going to watch it on YouTube, and I want to watch it. I don't want to watch to listen. So I don't know, there could be a whole demographic out there that I'm just completely ignoring where people are like, yeah, I like to click on the snippets and I like to just listen to them. You know, but I feel like I'm not that type of person. And so I won't blame anybody if they don't even bother to be interested in the snippets that inevitably come from posting this. But I really wanted to get something out on the podcast feed because I've been gone for a few weeks, and I've honestly, the quarantine has made me not creative, dude. I don't know. It's sapped my creativity and it's sapped my motivation, and I'm starting to get it back a little bit. I genuinely am. I got some kettlebells and I sound like Joe Rogan. Got some kettlebells and after like starting to try to get back into working out and feeling better and, you know, re-energizing myself, as well as making some moves in the back end for some other kind of content that I'm trying to pump out, which I'll talk about in a second. It's just been tough for me, man. I don't know. And every single one of my creative friends I've talked to have said, like, yeah, I'm not feeling that creative, which is funny because you got more time than ever to do creative stuff. But there's something about the looming depression of just society failing itself while we all suffer economically in the process where we need to be safe and be prepared and take care of this and test and contain, and we're not doing any of those things, and we're not economically helping people, which is just like, fuck, you know, it's depressing. So, you know, combination of all those things, it's made me not very motivated. It's made me not very creative. I have not been inspired. I've not been doing things that make me feel good, and it's frustrating because I know that in any other circumstance with this amount of time relative to amount of work that I actually have to go to, I would crank out more content than ever, but it's just not happening. And it's no one's fault but myself. It's like, you know, 100% on me. It's just like, it's a thing that I'm not the only one suffering through, which has made me feel better, but I've felt like unproductive. And then I've like punished myself for feeling unproductive. But in reality, it's like, I'm just dealing with the crisis like everybody else. You know, I'm fucking human, man. I'm just a person. Just a person who wants to make some content and entertain you all. So it's not like I can just ignore the quarantine. So anyway, so the other piece of content, this is a super long intro. I promise it'll get to the IG Live in a second. But the new kind of content that I'm coming out with is a gaming channel. I have kind of always wanted to do a gaming channel. I've also always wanted to avoid tropes of YouTube stars and stuff because I do want people to take, you know, I don't take myself that seriously, to be honest, but I do want people to take some of my, like, when I'm trying to do like some fine art seriously. Like if I want to make a film, I want to make a dope ass film, and I want to make, you know, Christopher Nolan levels of like complexity and stuff, and maybe a little bit better on show don't tell, but overall, like, you know, I want I want that seriousness of film. And I always worried that YouTube would like devalue my brand or, whatever. But it's like, dude, fuck that. You know what? I'm my own self and I'm authentically me. And an authentic part of myself is that I love video games. And I think that I'd be entertaining to watch play. Not because I'm amazing at any of these games, but because I think I'd have a funny take on it. I think my voices lend themselves to being used on that. I don't do impressions that much on this podcast, which I find is really interesting because I feel like I do impressions, or not even impressions really. I barely do my impressions at this point. But my own voices and my own like mocking voices, I think naturally fit perfectly into the gaming sphere. So I want to bring a little bit more of that side to me. I love diving into the deep philosophical shit. That's what this podcast is all about. I've also been dealing with, I've just been dealing with paying too much attention to politics, and not, I care about it. So this isn't like for no reason, but it's like, there's a certain point where it's like, bro, I literally can't do anything. My guy is out. The only guy who ever stood for anything in a presidential race in a long time is out. And he completely capitulated and gave up all of his power. It's just like all of this shit. It's like, it's so depressing to know that like literally no help is coming. There's no opposition party. Both parties are colluding to just fuck you over as a regular person. It's infuriating, dude. It makes me so mad. It actually makes me like visibly upset. And it was starting to really fuck with my mental health because it's like, you can only care so much about this stuff when you're literally completely powerless. And it's, as people, we're not actually powerless, but in this current moment, we kind of are. We really can't do anything. It's on Congress to fix this shit, and they're not going to. Because why? Because if they show you that they can truly help you, then they'll know that we'll never go back, and then they can't keep making money in the way that they're making money. And it's insane, and it's horrific, and it's greedy, and it's disgusting. And it's unfortunately just the way that it's going to go, I guess. I don't know. Joe Biden's fucking horrible. And Donald Trump is obviously worse. So, that we somehow found ourselves in a worse choice than Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump, but we are. So, I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's hard for me to feel positive and hopeful about any of it because I really don't. I just don't feel positive or hopeful. I don't. And I'm a positive person. I'm optimistic. But holy fuck, these people are evil. I mean, they're just evil. There's no other explanation. The Nancy Pelosi's of the world, the Chuck Schumers, literally all of the Republicans. I mean, they're all just so bad. They're horrible. Everybody's against regular people. They're all already rich. They don't need $1,200 stimulus checks. So fuck you. We don't care if you even get it, let alone send you more than one check. All of that shit combined is just too much, man. It's too much. This shit... I just can't be plugged into it right now. You know what I mean? Like with all that's going on, I can't be even more aware of how shitty and corrupt all of them are because it's just going to make me more depressed. So I'd rather go in this other direction where I try to tap into, that spiritual eternal now more and to play video games for fun and to entertain people because my mental health is declining from the pandemic combined with this government ineptitude in a time when we genuinely need government to actually like protect us and take care of us, right? This is what we pay taxes for, supposedly. So yeah, so that was a really long-winded intro. It was basically half of this podcast. Not really, but it was, I felt like it was necessary because it's been a while. I wanted to explain it. I want you guys to understand, what I'm going through. And you can kind of tell, like, I'm frustrated. I'm upset. I'm upset at a lot of things, but I'm also upset at myself. And it's been this self-defeating process that, has crippled me from actually posting content. So this is me saying, fuck it. I don't care about the formalities of, I got to post and make a snippet and cut it perfectly and do this whole promotional. It's like, dude, IG fucked that chance of this episode and my phone fucked that chance of Marcus's episode. So I need to just get over that and just post it. And, it's good content. The conversation's worth hearing. So I want this stuff to just get out and I get it off my chest. And I want to get back to just posting stuff. I wish I could get back to basics and just like only record the audio and it would be just so much easier. But I know that the reality is that if I really want people to click on it, I do. I've got to do the fucking song and dance, dude. I got to do the video, man. I gotta show off my pretty face, right? I gotta use the moneymaker. I can't just, my voice, it's silky smooth. It's perfect for radio. But it's not, it's not enough. It's not enough, dude. I'm a regular dude who lives in Chicago, okay? If I want people to listen to my shit, I gotta be on camera, bro. And by the way, I didn't film any of this either. So this is all audio too. And I hope it's a little bit entertaining to you. It's kind of fun for me to do it. And honestly, I think I just need to get back to this kind of stuff because, I'm sure I probably pissed a lot of you people off with my politic rants about the last 8 episodes. But the truth is that was in the forefront of my consciousness. That was what I was paying attention to. This election genuinely matters. And mattered. I would say it mattered more. It matters less now because we got 2 piece of shit options. But before, it really mattered. This was a genuine chance of the people to stand up and defend their rights. And we immediately decided, well, not we, actually, the political class immediately decided oh, no. I'd rather lose with Joe than win with Bernie. We gotta fucking nip this in the bud. They went harder to eliminate Bernie than they've ever done to try to get rid of Trump. And so that was the only thing that I was paying attention to because it literally mattered and we had a real chance to win and we almost fucking did it, dude. If they didn't all consolidate around Super Tuesday, I think we'd be looking at a very different campaign and we'd be arguing for different things. But unfortunately we're not, and we're not arguing for anything. Joe Biden literally has zero platform to do anything. The guy I don't know what he stands for. I don't know any of his policies, in any reality of it because I don't believe him. I don't believe him on anything. The dude's a known pathological liar and plagiarizer. So I wanna just unplug from that. I genuinely have consumed less politics. I've not been paying attention to everything that's happening anymore because it just makes me mad. And I don't want to be mad, dude. I'm a happy guy. I got a good life going here. Don't get me wrong. If I see injustice and there's a time where I can actually do something and I can step up and really make a change or I can have some sort of real effect, then by all means, I'm going to be there on the front lines, okay? But in the meantime, when there's literally nothing I can do but sit in my fucking apartment, dude, I'm not paying attention to this shit. I'm just not going to, dude. My life now is going to be consisting of an inner spiritual journey and gaming and posting content. And that's what I want it to be. And this is me trying to speak it into existence by telling you all. So at this point, this really is half a podcast, but I don't give a shit because this is important and I want you all to know that. Because it's important to me. I care about this. I genuinely enjoy doing the podcast, and I really enjoy the conversations. I love rambling. Don't get me wrong. I love listening to myself talk in the sense that when I really say something that doesn't even feel like it came from me, that's satisfying. I love listening back to something. I'm like, damn, that was right in the moment, and I couldn't have repeated that in that way if I tried. I love that, and I think that is one of my skills that I was born with. I was born with an ability to talk. My mom always jokes that I was born talking, and I love to share that with the world, and I like to think that people are entertained by it. I like to think that people think it's fun to listen to or it's interesting. I might give you a perspective you never thought of, the cosmic perspective. Free plug. But also, I have my own mental health needs and my values and the things that I gotta think about that are also important. And for me, I need to create. I need to make things. If I'm not making things, I just feel less than. You know what I mean? I feel less than. And I think there's a character flaw. I shouldn't. I should feel good enough as is, just who I am, and that's what it is. And there are many moments where I feel that way. But there are also other moments where I feel completely inadequate if I'm not doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing. And who's to say that there are things I'm supposed to be doing? There are things that I believe that I'm supposed to be doing based on my perception of the positive feedback loop that I get from those activities, right? And I think that's really where I've been struggling, is that I'm not doing those things, and then I'm getting upset by politics, and then I'm just sitting in my fucking apartment and not doing enough. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. And I love having these kind of realizations with you all because, when you hear me spit this shit, like, I don't write anything. I don't write anything for the podcast. Everything is freestyle, dude. This is all off the top always. And sometimes I come in with no plan. Like, this was supposed to be an intro to this podcast. This is a podcast. Like, I have a whole ass clip on the other side of this shit that I'm still going to put at the end of this fucking thing. But at the same time, you're getting genuine, authentic Kevin here. And I think you're getting a little bit more unleashed Kevin now. Because I feel like I have been trying to reawaken that in the last week or so, where I've been really trying to come back and get back to who I really am, whatever that even means, but who I believe that I am. My perception of what I believe I am based on the previous experiences and stories that I've told myself through my narratives. But yeah, so anyway, this IG Live was cool. Talked about some shit. There's definitely some overlapping themes with what I just talked to you about. But I thought it was fun. It was a fun conversation to participate in. And moving forward, I don't know. Maybe I just move the lives to fucking Facebook. I don't know if it's easier to save videos via Facebook. I know for sure the video quality is higher, so I'll play with it. I feel like I get a lot more engagement on Instagram, but maybe I'll do the lives on Facebook moving forward. We'll see. But anyway, be on the lookout for the gaming channel. I will be posting links to it. I'll probably make some sort of announcement on the podcast feed of like, hey, come check out my gaming channel, and I'll see if any of you guys all follow me. I don't know how much crossover there is. I know that this podcast is very philosophical and psychedelic and whatever, so maybe there's not an insane level of crossover to the gaming channel, but hopefully some of you all would enjoy that kind of content. It'll be me being my goofy, genuine self, not trying to force anything. I'm just going to be playing games and having fun with it, and hopefully playing with some friends and stuff. So be on the lookout for that. Sorry for the absence, but also not that sorry, because I got to take care of my own mental health, man. First and foremost, got to take care of yourself, and then you can worry about posting content. That being said, it seems to me the key to my mental health is actually not even necessarily posting content, but creating it. So, without further ado, here's the IG Live from the other day that fucking Instagram fucked me out of the video on. Okay, for real. Here you go. Peace. What up, heavy mommies? What's up, everybody? I know I've been kind of absent online for a little bit now. I've been absent for a little bit, but I kind of always knew that I wanted to do a lot of other things, and so I've been kind of moving a lot of chess pieces in the background. I've also just been dealing with the existential crisis that is the pandemic. I think it's pretty normal and human to be reacting in a strange way to the strange times that we find ourselves in. So I think it's really important for people to remember that, bro, this is unprecedented. Nobody's ever experienced some shit like this before that's alive today. Not on the scope or scale that it's on. And it's totally human and okay to not be normal, to not be okay. So for me, I've definitely had some periods of just feeling frustrated. And it's not just because, like, I'm stuck inside, like, whatever. Everybody's stuck inside. But, like, there is, like, a frustration point of, I waited for a long time for nice weather to come around. And then this fucking, now that the weather's starting to be nice, then I got to deal with this shit. That being said, we want to save lives. We want to protect people. So, obviously, we want to be mindful of the unhealthy people in the world that might be vulnerable to it, and so we want to be aware. Obviously, coronavirus is it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing, and it's adding some weird elements to existence and society and culture and how we're communicating with each other. But it's also affecting us on a level of, there is some consideration of like civil liberties and personal freedoms, right? Like, I do understand the concept of we don't want a government to say, hey, you can't go outside and you can never do anything for the wrong reasons, because then that's terrifying, right? But at the same time, we also have to acknowledge the reality of the danger of this virus, and that if we just left it unchecked and said, yeah, everybody just be normal, like, people would be killing each other unknowingly, but they'd be just killing each other constantly because they'd be putting themselves in contact with other people. And, hopefully coronavirus is not as deadly as we initially predicted. I'm hoping that that's the case. But I also think that there's part of it is going to be the craziness of overwhelming hospitals and the infrastructure problems, especially here in America, where, you go to the hospital, it costs you $20,000, So I think that there's very much the reality of the cost of things on an individual basis rather than a societal basis, which most other modern nations do, and they take care of just fine. And people go to the doctor, they don't have to worry about going bankrupt. In America, that's not the case. So I think it's a time that it's allowing us to really look at our lives and figure out, like, what have we been doing that has made sense and what have we been doing that hasn't. And hopefully as a culture as well, like looking at, okay, well, we've been doing this thing for a while, whatever this economy is, we've been doing it for a while, and it hasn't exactly produced the best outcomes. It hasn't really produced, the productivity that we believe that we have, because we've shown that our supply chains are pretty flimsy, and that we've seen that the reality of what our economy actually runs on is that we need people spending money constantly, right? Which is fine. Obviously, we've seen people spending money constantly for a long time in our society, but I think we've realized the limits of which we are going to hit that point, right? We're going to hit that spot where it's like, okay, well, that no longer really is an efficient economy. It's not really measuring, people's happiness levels. It's not really measuring the effectiveness of fulfillment in people's lives, and I think we all know that GDP in the stock market is not reflective of the reality of the global economy, because, we got, 35 million people unemployed in America right now. And that's only, those are the people who can get in on the website. There's more for sure that just haven't been able to get through. And so you have that many people unemployed, and yet the stock market, is seeing record gains in one day and all that. And it's, that tells you that if the governments, or not the governments, if the corporations feel that they can't fail because the government will always bail them out, then there's no risk. They can just keep putting it on the people's dime, and then they pay the lobbyists to change the laws so that then they don't get taxed for shit on the back end. So I think we've seen the way, and yeah, totally, we've seen the way that society will collapse in an apocalypse. We've totally seen the way that, like, oh, shit just won't be at the store anymore, or like, so I think we've seen kind of a glimpse into the world that is an uncivilized version of our society. And I think we've seen how thin the veil is of civility in our civilization, which is a good thing, but also a bad thing, right? It's a bad thing that it's like that. It's a good thing that we've noticed that it's like that. The thing that I think has been giving me the most existential panic is that I look at our government officials and I'm like, there are no motherfucking leaders out here. There's nobody. Like, bro, even my boy Bernie Sanders, he's just not doing what he needs to be doing in the power that he's in. And in fact, he's given up all of his power and leverage. So we got Joe Biden, who can't remember where the fuck he is, and he's supposed to be the guy leading the charge. Like, fuck. I just feel like we're fucked, But at the same time, I'm an optimist, so I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe we're as fucked as the reality seems to make us seem, because it really just seems like this is a moment where we need, like, FDR. We need an FDR-like president, somebody who says, fuck both parties, fuck all of you guys. I'm going to save your capitalism by at least giving people some basic semblance of a safety net so that they don't come with the pitchforks. And I think we're seeing it with these armed protests coming out, where these people, they want to work, but, like, I don't even know if they want to work as much as they just want to know that they're safe and covered. And so in their mind, they're thinking, well, I don't want the government telling me I can't go make money because I'm going broke right now. But, like, you need to stay home, And so this is where the government would need to back the companies, and in this case, the small and medium businesses, and it's not. It's like, hey, let's give it to Boeing. Let's give it to these huge corporations, and fuck the small businesses, fuck the medium-sized businesses. Maybe they'll get some of the loans, but let's give it to the rich guys first, who can clearly weather the storm, even despite all this. And if they were really managing money properly, wouldn't they have a bunch of reserve cash to get them through some period of time where they're not making money? You know, like any proper business should have that safety net. And I think this has proven that these corporations just don't care because they know that they're just going to get bailed out later. So they're like, yeah, let's risk all the shit with public funds. And then when we need to be saved, let's get saved by public funds. And then that way, you know, they privatize the profits and they socialize the losses, which I know Kyle Kalinske says a lot. But it's true. They seem to be doing that. And it's really frustrating because you know that if we just made it a little more even to like small and medium businesses, we wouldn't live in the corporate states of America. You know, like we would live in we would still live in like a capitalistic, materialistic minded society to some degree, because that's just like the American culture, man. It's so deep. It cuts so deep into our blood. I don't know. I wish we didn't, but it does. It cuts so deep into the identity of a lot of people. A lot of people really believe that I'm going to be the next millionaire. I'm going to be the next billionaire. And so then they defend and they like bootlick these billionaires who don't give a fuck about them because they see themselves in that person, even though that person would look down on you and spit on your fucking head, you know? And it's frustrating because I think a lot of those people, you know, that are doing that, they don't really see themselves as bootlicking or like sucking up to the billionaires, but like that's ultimately what they're doing. And it's ultimately helping them, you know, them being the billionaires and hurting them being themselves, which is frustrating. Yeah, the world is going to shit and can only do a little. Yeah, I know, dude. And the thing that's frustrating about Trump is like, okay, obviously Trump sucks. Like we don't need to fucking. Okay, he sucks. Okay, we get it. He sucks. He's, you know, one of the worst presidents we've ever had. He actively does things that destroys good parts of our government, and he does it under the premise that government doesn't work, but meanwhile he's making it not work by defunding things. You know, that's frustrating, right? But Trump did not emerge from nothing. Trump didn't just appear, okay? Trump emerged because we had somebody like Barack Obama who was elegant and he spoke nice and he said all the right things and he seemed like he was a smart man in charge. He was a statesman. He really, you know, but he also expanded the drone program. He expanded NSA surveillance. He got us into more conflicts than we were in before, you know, and so I get it. People love Obama because he was the first black president and he broke a lot of barriers and what he campaigned on in 2008 was awesome, right? Hope and change and all these. He didn't do any of that shit. And he completely said, fuck my whole movement. I'm going to depower them and deplatform them. And he basically disbanded them, which is unfortunate because a president combined with a movement, it could be transformational. Hence the FDR, right? With the labor movement. And I think that what we're learning now is that in this current climate, there's too many people on the right who just want to own the libs. Fuck the libs, man. Fuck your feelings, dude. And there's like so many of those people who are just like, I just want to make you cry, you little bitch. And I get it. That's fun, right? There are people who are like overly sensitive and they're kind of annoying and you kind of want them to shut the fuck up. I get it. I feel you. Even though I might agree with a lot of like what they're arguing for, I might find them annoying in their communication style or their way of expressing it. So I totally understand that. That being said, what they're fighting for is mostly the right things, and policing of language is where you start getting into the area where I tend to disagree with them a lot. But I think for sure on, you know, the civil rights stuff and equality and, you know, making sure that we're inclusive, like all that stuff I'm for. You know, I think there's a way to go about it to appeal to people on both sides and not be annoying and like, I'm self-righteous and I'm better than you. You know, that's not helpful and that doesn't convince anybody. But I think that there is an alliance that could emerge from that, right? And the reason that we haven't done that is because we're too divided on these cultural things, when really I think a lot of us agree on a lot of economic stuff. So I think if we can get together, in this case the labor movement, we need people to understand that we as a collective movement of people in the workforce have more power than these billionaires at the top of the companies. Because guess what? Their companies don't operate if we don't show up to work. So general strike, anything that involves withholding our labor, which is thus their capital, until we can get proper negotiations so that we are paid equally and that we're paid well enough, that I think is like going to be the major key to like transforming this country, because I just don't think you're going to get a bunch of right wingers to agree with you on these social and cultural issues. They're just not going to agree with you on it, which is fine. You don't really need them to agree with you on that. You could probably still, change the culture through other means anyway. I think cultural stuff is stuff you change outside of laws, So to me, the most important thing is to change the laws in regards to economics and equality of opportunity, and giving people a shot to really make it out of a shitty situation, whereas statistically right now it's not that way. If you're born poor, you're likely to stay poor, and it's not because you did anything wrong. It's not because you're not smart enough. It's literally like there's so many structural things against you that you can overcome it. You totally can, but statistically you probably won't, which sucks. And I think we could create a world that makes it statistically so that you got a shot, and if you work for it you can earn it, and if you don't, then you won't. But at least you're not like starving and dying and just fighting to survive. Let's see. Yeah, sorry, my phone's sideways. I got to read your comment. Just think about it. May not be living in America, but here in the Philippines, things are the same, but my president's a dickhead. And why people start to vote for the dickhead. Yeah, well, they vote for dickhead presidents because they're desperate. You know what I mean? And that's what happened in America here too. Is like there's a lot of people who are desperate, but then their cultural values are telling them like, but I don't want a handout. Like I want to do it myself, which is fine. And I want people to feel empowered to do things themselves. But there is certain points where it's like, bro, this is bigger than you. You can't just overcome this big societal thing. You're a person. So, if the whole movement is shifting in one direction, you being one person, you're going to have a hard time fighting the tsunami. And so that's where I think we need certain laws and regulations, especially because the transfer of wealth in the last 30 years has been disgusting in the way that it's basically siphoned it out of the middle class and the lower class. It's siphoned it out of that and put it into the hands of 1%ers who already had billions. Bro, they didn't need any more money, and they already have more. And it's disproportionately going to them, which means all new money that's being all new wealth that's being generated, it's just going towards a very small percentage of people. And this isn't because they worked harder or because they're better than you or any of that shit. It's literally because they fucking fixed the laws and the tax codes to benefit them, to almost never tax them on anything, and to then tax you on the back end so that you're paying for it twice. You're like giving them subsidies and then they're not paying taxes. And so you're just watching all this money just shift from our pockets, regular people, to these 1%ers that already were super rich. They didn't need any more money. They're already fine. They got like 7 yachts, okay? They don't need an 8th yacht. It's fine. They'll be fine. They'll survive. They will live. They might cry about it. They might feel like they're the most persecuted class in the world, but obviously they're not, right? They're the most privileged class in society. So to me, I got no empathy for billionaires at all. Like, yo, props to you. Shout out. You won capitalism, A+ effort, but also gonna need that money back. Gonna need that money back. Give me the money back. Because we're paying for your shit, dude. Like Walmart, we're paying for your people. We're paying for your workers because you're not paying them enough. And I think for anybody to think that they earned $1 billion, it's like, bro, the only way you get $1 billion is by stealing it in various ways, whether it's via the tax code, via not paying your workers enough. You're exploiting labor to earn capital. I mean, that just is what it is. So if you've gotten to that point and you're doing that, then just know if you made it to $1 billion, you stole that from your workers on some level by not giving the bonuses, by not paying them enough, by exploiting what they're producing and stealing the profit and the revenue. And I understand that in capitalism, that is how it works. And this is the system working as designed. But that's why we need this weird hybrid system. We need a system that has certain socialism benefits, right? Like, not even necessarily government-run healthcare, but at least government paid for healthcare. It's fine if you want to have private practices and whatever operate. That's fine. Just know that we should have the single-payer system footing the bill. Obviously, police, firefighters, all that's all a form of socialism, right? Where we all pool our money and resources together to pay for something for the collective good. Same thing with goods in like in parks and in other public spaces, we all collectively pay for it because we all agree that we all want to share it, right? And I think that for those things, that's important for us to have that. And then for other things, by all means, we want profit incentive. We want something where it's like it's about creating the best product and streamlining it, whatever. I'm all good with that. I'm not like diametrically opposed to capitalism in its entirety, but I am opposed to it being what it is right now, which is just full on, just regular capitalism, just unchecked. Nobody's stopping anything, and we're watching them buy our politicians. I mean, and that's the part that's most frustrating is like, capitalism with proper regulations and with maybe publicly funded elections so that everybody's got a stake in paying for these elections and the nomination process, then it evens the playing field, because then it's not like the lobbyists and the corporations who have all the money and the power can just buy all these politicians. It's like, bro, your dollar's just as important as theirs, and they can get just as much money from all the regular people as they can from just one corporation. Obviously, the one corporation's easier, but then it means sacrificing your values. So if people are actually principled, and then they've been proven that they can make their campaign donations and money by being principled and representing the people, then it can fundamentally shift how this government is operating. So, I do believe it can be fixed. I just don't believe it can be fixed with Donald Trump at the helm. I don't believe it's going to be fixed with Joe Biden at the helm. I don't believe it's going to be fixed by any president alone. I think it would only be fixed by a president combined with a movement, combined with at least half of Congress or something, that somewhat represents people, at least on some issues. I don't need somebody who agrees with me on everything, but I definitely need them to agree on a couple of my big major issues and be like, all right, cool. At least I know you're going to fight for that. I disagree with you on these 7 other issues, but at least in these 2 issues, I believe you, like you actually have been fighting for it, and you actually propose bills and you put them on people's desks. Then by all means, then I think then the change can begin to happen. And I believe we are going to see that over time. I think there are many people who have been inspired by both of Bernie Sanders' campaigns that has inspired people to fight for the people. And I believe that it can be done. But I think this is going to be a long process, and I worry about the time. I worry about us not having enough time to let that all bloom and come to fruition. And I worry about certainly the impact that coronavirus is going to have, where we're going to see this mass consolidation of these small businesses, medium businesses that are going to go out of business, and then their scraps are going to be bought up by fucking Amazon and Google and Apple and all these big corporations that already had a lot of money and power concentrated into them. Which leads me to another thing that I wanted to talk about. This is longer than I anticipated doing this live, but it's fine. This is a mini podcast. Which, by the way, I have another one that I was going to release, and it's kind of it's frustrating because the video got fucked up for it, so it's going to have to be an audio only podcast. But it's a really good conversation that I have been procrastinating because I don't know, quarantine. I don't know why I'm procrastinating. I'm still trying to figure that out in my head. But the other thing that I want to talk about, because it's related to watching Westworld and it's related to this whole thing, is that I don't trust any of these tech companies with their motives. I don't trust any of them. I think they all have these ulterior motives of controlling the world in a way that's not like not like Illuminati type thing. It's literally like that they understand the type of technology that they're making, and they understand the impact that it's going to have on society and culture. And they want to steer it in a way to which they believe is some utopian world, right? Like, and so this brings me to Westworld. So this is a warning. If you have not seen the latest season of Westworld, spoilers are ahead. I'm just warning you now. I'm going to try to not be too specific to it. I'm going to try to keep it general, but even the generality is a spoiler. But in the show, they touch on this subject of big data, and they touch on this subject of what controls people, and the different ways that you could control people through algorithms by introducing options to them within a certain range of acceptability. So like, I can either have A or B, and it's presenting these options to me, and it does it in enough instances that it actually influences my decision to make one choice of A or B over the other. And imagine this on a micro level in every decision you make based on the algorithms that are being presented to you by corporations which have their own interests. So, Facebook's showing you ads, it's because it's making them money. You have you have people like, Google showing you ads based on what you search and based on your search history and based on what you've looked at and based on the amount of time that you spent and based on where you walk to. And, you have Google Maps is tracking your every movement. And so it knows where you go on a daily basis. It knows what you do. It knows which restaurants you come into contact with. And when you think about that on a larger scale and you add in an artificial intelligence of some kind, it doesn't even have to be a sentient artificial intelligence to be dangerous, because with that amount of data, with the amount of data that Facebook has, with the amount of data that Google has, this is world controlling. This data is like trillions of dollars worth of data, because if people know where you've gone, they know what you've purchased, they know what you like, they know what music you listen to, they know everything. They know you better than you. But also, the profile that they create for you is still not really telling the whole story. So then what it does is, in fact, it just reinforces certain behaviors for you based on what you've gone to. And that's what you maybe were in that moment. And instead of allowing you to change and evolve and grow, it is forcing you down a path which it is predetermined based on your previous preferences that this is what you are always going to like. And sometimes it's right. Sometimes it's awesome. And sometimes it shows me an ad and I'm like, yes, I want that thing. Other times I'm like, what if I wanted to change? What if I didn't want to be like this? What if I wanted to go in a different direction? And if the algorithm's always showing me the things that I used to like and that I liked in the past, then is it ever giving me a chance to grow and transcend that previous iteration of myself? And I think that's where it comes into play of like, well, what kind of choices are we making that we actually make now? And I got into a whole thing with Daniel about free will on a previous podcast, but also at work. And to me, I believe that the moment of choice that we have, and this is something that I've like started to refine in my mind in terms of how I perceive it, but the range of choice that I have is not in the final decision, but in the range of choices that I present to myself, the range of choices that I allow to be possible for myself. And once I know, okay, I know that my outcomes can only come from like this like little window here, okay? Then I'm crafting my narrative to some degree without being able to control all the little variables within this decision tree, right? So I know, okay, if I know that A or B can happen and anything in between A and B can happen, and I'm the one who's allowing for A and B to even be possible, then I can't decide what happens, but I can decide what is possible to happen. And so if I'm constantly crafting my life to arrange a range from A to B of like, these are the A to Bs that I want in my life, then what if an algorithm is constantly altering that, is constantly influencing that in a way that I don't even realize because it's so subtle? I Google search something and I didn't tell it what to bring up. I told it what I was looking for, and it took that interpretation and decided to show me what it believes is best for me based on those preferences. So at a certain point, you stop losing or you start losing the ability to choose anything because the things are always being chosen for you. And I think that is like a terrifying thing, but it's happening. It's happening right now. And that is the part that I think sometimes people don't think about. Oh, I'm not doing anything wrong. I don't care if people spy on me. But like, dude, do you want your whole life to be decided for you? And that's the part that is kind of scary to me, because I don't trust the motives of these CEOs of any of these companies. I really don't. I think that, even with the ones that have good intentions, I don't think that they're really understanding the larger implication, even though they do. Like, they get it. They understand the global impact. But I think that they're going to lack the foresight to really understand where this is all going and where it will be at a certain point where things are so integrated and so automated that everybody's living these loops that were created for them, and they didn't even know. They didn't even know. And then on top of that, the amount of power that is, where, I don't like that guy, so let's make him go into a loop until he kills himself. You know what I mean? And they could do that. And I think that that's terrifying, because that is influence without, you don't need a government power to have that kind of influence. You just need to be so integrated into the marketplace that people can't escape you and people have to use you as a resource. And then therefore you become an integral part of every decision being made on the planet. Every decision being made on the planet is being made and being influenced by Google. On some level it is. It's the main search engine. So every decision that somebody makes, whether it's to buy something, as something trivial as just buying an object, or by researching a subject that they might want to go into and change their life path and decide to learn about that particular subject, is all guided by what is presented to them on the search page. And more often than not, the first page, not even the second page. So I feel like after watching Westworld, I was already very aware of these things, but it really made me think about it in a way that I think it resonates even deeper for me. Let me take a look at your comment here. Slept and then was about to wake up. Kind of rebooted. Yeah, I mean, I kind of treat life as a game. So for me, I already treat it like it's a video game. I already treat it like it's an RPG, and I have skill trees that I can choose to invest my time into if I want to. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's a game. To me, I think the reality of whether this is a simulation or a game doesn't actually matter, because my experience of it is real enough. As they also say in Westworld, if you can't tell, does it really matter? And I would argue that if you can't tell, hold on, sorry, I got a phone call. I would argue that if you can't tell, then it really doesn't matter. I think it honestly doesn't matter at all. So for me, I'm not as concerned about whether the world is real or not, because it's real enough. What I'm more concerned with is my experience within it, because that is real to me. It's as real as anything is real. But yeah, so this went on longer than I expected, but this was a lot of fun. I'm going to try my best to get Marcus's episode edited and I'm going to upload it. I don't know why I've been procrastinating it, but, especially because it's a good episode. Like, I actually really enjoy the conversation. There's no reason why I've delayed it. I've been living life a little bit. I've been spending time, with my girlfriend, and I've also been, dealing with the quarantine in my own way, so I think it'll be really exciting to see. I've been working on, I'm getting a gaming channel started, so this should be really fun. But I've worked on it. I got a capture card. I'm figuring out the stuff. I've been trying to figure out how to do podcasts remotely, and I keep running into the problem of, like, my internal camera on my computer sucks, one, and is also, two, behind my monitors. Like, I don't have a desktop. I literally use a laptop, but I treat it like a desktop. I just hook it up to my two monitors. And so when I do a call, if I'm going to do the call through the computer, I can't record it and use that camera, because it's literally just staring at the back of my monitors, which is not helpful. And so that part is a little frustrating to me, because I wish it was easy, but every webcam in the world is sold out because everybody's using them for Zoom meetings. And so I don't want to pay triple the value of a fucking 1080p camera for nothing, not to mention they're sold out, so you can't even fucking find them anyway. So I found out a way to do that for streaming games, but I haven't found out a way to do that and to have the video chat, and so that they can see me, because I still want that engagement even though we're not in the same room. And so that is something that I've been struggling with, which I think is also part of my procrastination, is that I still don't have a solution for that. But yeah, so anyway, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you being in the conversation. This has been a lot of fun. I want to do more lives. I need to just suck it up and just fucking do it. Sometimes I want to make it look pretty and I want to get the lights, but then sometimes the task of doing that, I'm like, fuck, I don't really want to do all that. And then I end up doing nothing. So I need to overcome that. That's the resistance winning. And I don't want to let it win anymore. But I will probably save this and upload this later. So for anybody who did not participate in the live discussion, then at least you all can enjoy it later. But thank you. Peace.